absolute right, which cannot be taken away from anybody. So why the fuck are we not given a fair hearing as an absolute right? Court orders made on zero evidence. And if you break that court order, then you're criminalised. No evidence whatsoever. You got people like Cameron. Oh shit, I forgot I left my child in the pub. Where the hell is social services then? If we do that, you know what happens. One rule for the rich, the elites, the nonces, and one rule for the working classes. Yeah. And I see the old Bill Pre getting interested in me. But we ain't ever going to stop. We want our kids back.
Bring it on. We don't care.
Fuck you.
Children are most important. We don't care. Bring it on.
Who's this coming?
I'm guessing that's going to be an NHS again.
Fine.
I'll go and check.
Karen is fine.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining. So we're here for Children First, supporting them in their demo. Faces of forced adoption. You hear some of the heartbreaking stories here. There's another demo coming down. Thank you for joining me, everyone. There's another demo coming down. I'm just going to see what it is. But there's speakers waiting to speak here, but I think they're just going to wait till this demo goes past.
Yeah.
Trying to see what the banner... Oh, it says... End NHS pay inequality. That's what it says. So there's another demo here, and I'm here supporting the Children First demo. I can't see any comments. Thank you, Facebook. Not let me see any comments if there's any. And that's exactly what they think they are, isn't it? They think they're chattel, our children, and they think they own them.
Just show your life.
I think because we're outside the gates of hell.
Oh. It just
This is heartbreaking here. This is real stories, real people telling the truth. Telling the truth.
How you doing?
Oh,
Cuddle.
Gary.
I had the police after me and everything. Arm raid around the house and everything.
Goodness. Oh, look.
I've got to go court on the 27th.
Oh, my goodness.
I saw two
I'll
policemen.
message you. I'll message you.
I've got banned till Monday.
Gary, I won't be a minute.
They took
all
my
right?
bank account, they beat me up Santander, got me arrested, yeah. Shut down my bank account and then the police sued me everywhere. Took my cannabis. I'm under common law. I've got a certificate.
Yeah.
They can't accuse me of assault. I'm going to be on a mental health.
You can do him for unlawful arrest,
I'm
can't you?
paranoid schizophrenic. I'm paranoid of pigs. Machine gun. So I nicked my USB on the way here. I've got no red games. No need for LGBT.
No, NHS.
Great, I'll see you. Alright, still got your wristband on here. That's very fun with that. Look, this is what I'm wearing. Now look. See that? God we trust the Lion King. Look at that I need the reggae. I told you I was going to reggae. I'm there with boombox. So I need the USB. I've got mine.
Tracy. Hello, you can't see me often. You promised me last year. You showed me a letter.
I've got one.
You promised me last year.
I've got one.
Me.
I've got one. I've got one. Hang on. Hang on. Wait there. I will get you it. Don't follow me, or it's harassment. Yeah, hang on. Someone's holding them for me. People will speak here in a minute. Just gonna let this demo go past. Steve, can you hold that a minute and talk to them? This is Steve, hang on.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on you, Steve. There you go, there's Steve.
See my ugly mug. What's
You just explain why we're here.
what's happening, guys? So there's a fair few of us out today. We're here for put kids first. You know, social services, discrepancies. You know, all the sort of unjust laws that normal working class parents have to face. We've come to just sort of start our demo, and we've come across, we've got a load of pay inequality NHS workers on a sort of separate demo. They're just behind us now, all sort of passing through. You know, it'd be nice if we had that amount of people here for the children. You know, if it's not for the kids, then what is it about? They are the future. But yeah, I'm on Tracy's phone here, so I don't want to mess anything up and swing it around. So I'll just swing it around like this. Just outside Tim Downing Street. You know, they're all fighting for fair pay amongst the NHS, which is fair enough. I can get absolutely behind that. We're all here for the children, so a bit of unity would be nice. Yeah, stick it to them. See if I can turn this round so you don't have to see my ugly face. So this is our demo here. And you know, guys, all the guys here, they're all parents, you know, they're all broken parents. Like I said earlier, if we don't do it for the children, what do we do it for? Ordinary, working class people.
Again, it ties in, unfortunately.
Heartbreaking stuff, guys. Do you want to say a few words? It's live, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here today to raise awareness as to what happens when our children share disclose allegations of abuse. Our children are disbelieved, taken from us, mothers accountable to us, blamed of parental alienation, illness, without evidence. They're taken from us. In some cases, they are given to the abuser, taken into care, which my abusive child has been done at the expense of the taxpayers' money. They are taken without full police investigations of the accused. In some cases, the accused met with the child safe and abusive parent. And we are left basically fighting for the right to be reunited with our children, which is our family, which is our basic human right. And it's wrong. Our children, you know, the system
It's wrong, yeah.
It's not for the family unit. It's
Yeah.
destroying the family unit.
So would you say that social services at the minute is more inclined to make money than actually care about the children?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Fathers are going forward. You know, there are women out there that abuse, there are men out there that abuse. What we're trying to, what I really want to get out there is, it's not the parent. You know, we're blessed to have children.
Yeah.
Abused.
Absolutely.
And not to believe that our children are being abused by the mother.
Absolutely.
And to be taken and to be wrenched from the safe and abusing mother without full police investigation and then taken into care. You know, or in some cases given to the abusive mother or given to the abusive father. You know, placing care of the taxpayers and with the public to
they'd be able to.
you know, and we then are fighting for our children. And our children are getting care now, being abused by and we're left with transcripts of judgments from family law judges that are not worth the toilet paper, you know, because these kind of crimes, I believe, a lot of other parents believe should never go to family courts. Mothers are character rights become attacked before it goes to court. The father is never investigated, the accused is never investigated, because they're never investigated. You know, I've got a message. Stop the abuse. The perpetrators, stop abusing our children. Our children are our future. To the people who protect the perpetrators, whether they have been abused, stop. Whether you're professionals, whether you're members of the public that know about this, come forward. Professionals, the lawyers, the social workers who know. Come forward. You know, come forward. We need to have something to our children replaced by with safe and abusing parents, i.e. And that's what we're here to do, to raise awareness.
I'm happy to try those.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hi everyone. Thank you, Steve. Stay there. Hi everyone.
Hi.
My friend
I've had
Steve.
enough of my arguing, mate. Don't worry about it.
My friend Steve. Just to say that's what we're here for. Behind us you've got people asking for
Quality of pay.
Quality of pay. Thank you, Steve. There's lots of parents here that have had their children ripped from their loving arms. Now, come over, Steve. Now, obviously we know there are times when SS for short. What does that remind you of? Have to come in and take children away. That goes without saying. But what people don't realise, there is hundreds and hundreds of families, and this is happening every week, where they are taking children from loving homes who care about them, using future emotional harm with no evidence. Done in the family courts, which are closed courts, and a lot of times, and I've seen it in one case, I haven't looked at many cases, but I've seen it in one, fake documents to do it. And it's got to stop. Again, this is only happening to the working class and the poor, because they know that the working class and the poor don't have money to hire top lawyers and QCs, but you know, they work for the Temple Bar and the Law Society anyway, and they lie if they need to. I know that firsthand.
Yeah. When you talk about emotional future risk of harm, that was Tony Blair, by the way, that enforced that and sort of changed the game. Now, I commend all the parents that are here today doing what they're doing, because they're all broken, and it's because of these laws that they change, sort of, you know, under the carpet, and no one really notices it, and it breaks families. And there would be a lot more here, but they're scared to come out because they'll use it against them in the family courts and all that. So it's entrapment all day long, and it's really sad.
It's very sad. They tell the families that if they speak out, they won't get visitation rights.
Right.
They won't be able to see their children. And when they do, the parents that do get to see their children, they're not allowed to tell them they love them. They're in a room with other people in there watching, so they're watching everything they're doing. They're not allowed to tell them they love him. They're not allowed to take presents. Yeah. So what they're doing is severing that cord, the child from the parent, and making it look like to the child that the parent doesn't love them, doesn't care. All under the false pretences of what's best for the children. What's best for the children is that they stay in their loving homes. That's what's best for those children. And the only people causing them future emotional harm are SS and the family courts. Back in 2018, I went up on Christmas Day 2018, I went up to the Royal Courts of Injustices, and there was a gentleman, I do know his name but it's gone from my head. He was on a hunger strike out there because he wanted laws changed to do with the family courts to stop this happening. And it was his second hunger strike, and I said to him, what have you changed by doing this? Nothing. It's changed nothing. Nothing. They still do what they think they can do because they think they can do it. You know, going back over 100 years ago, 150 years ago, there used to be true justice in this country when good men stood up and weren't afraid to stand up and say no to what is going on. No, they stopped all that. They stopped the big unions. They've stopped our steel industry. Everything. They've broken up the family units. They're eradicating the traditions. Everything is being done intentionally and on purpose. And I'm going to see in a minute, I think these are moving, I think. And I'm going to go and speak to Justin and see if I can get him to speak on here for you. You see where Justin is?
Yeah, he's just there, mate.
Oh, yeah. I apologise, I can't answer any comments. Facebook are not showing me any comments whatsoever. Typical. Where's Tess?
Tell me, why are local authorities going to take damaged children? They're fucking not going to take the damaged children, are they? Because they're not adoptable. Do you know what I'm saying?
So there's a man over there. There's a man over there, 4 children, and they took one away from him. If he was abusing his child, why would they only take one and not the other 3? Why would they do that? And they do that on many occasions. There was one lady who had 3 children and one was disabled, and they took the 2 children that were not disabled and left the one that was disabled there. These are stories, obviously, that the mainstream media will not report on. Of course they won't, because they don't report on the truth and they don't report on what is really going on in the country you live in. There's some paedophile hunters here as well. You know, think about that. Why should you know, just working class, poor people become paedophile hunters. Why? Because the police don't do it, the government don't do it. There is no safety for our children in this country. No safety. And they've created a legal realm, acts and statutes that are not law unless consent is given by the governed. But they use trickery and deception, anything to try and get you in contract and consent to them.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
By lying to you.
Can anybody hear us at the back over there?
Turn it up.
I think that's turn it down.
Turn it up.
Turn it up a bit. Afternoon, everyone. How is everybody? Is everyone okay? Everyone feeling healthy? No one feeling a little bit giddy? If anyone's feeling giddy, just let one of the actual marshals know we're getting something to drink. I want to take this moment to turn around and thank every single person for turning up for their child or children and other people's children. This is an essential cause. We need to obviously get out there into the greater public domain. I don't think the population really realise just how heinous things are for parents and children right now. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that get fed mainstream media dribble, and they go with that because why wouldn't they believe what's printed in the papers? They will assume that people are going to be integral, they're going to be factual when they actually put what they do in the papers or online. Unfortunately, we're living in a time that's not quite the truth of it. Corporations, people, aristocrats, people that have wealth, they can actually control the media. The governments can control the media, they can put the angle on news as they see fit to, they can tweak it, twist it, any shape they feel fit to. So the point being is, people, thank you very much for actually being here, because each person that's managed to get here today, unfortunately there's a lot of people who haven't been able to get here for their own personal reasons. But for every one of you that have come here, you're here for, as you know, such a vital cause for parents that don't get to see their children. Unfortunately, entanglements are what they are. If everyone can turn around and get along and put their indifferences aside for 5 minutes, and this is my way of trying to deal with it. I come up with a mythology. If you've got something to say between the two of you, be it a couple, married or not, get what you've got to get said, turn around and basically move on after 5 minutes. Don't be passing ships if you can help it. It's so hard, I know. Not everyone can do it, but you can. It's a mindset thing. If you're not in a position of having anxiety, depression, PTSD, you can.
Encourage hostility. Yes. The family courts encourage.
I'm talking about inside. What I'm talking about, though, in general, is with a parent to a parent. So if we are looking at the parents, yeah, obviously once you go to the process,
the parents are good people.
Yeah.
The family court is scum.
Well, when the parents have got entanglements,
and the corruption that goes on within the family courts.
But do you want to come over and have a chat?
No, stand here, mate.
No?
Carry on. The seat of power in this country is based there. And this man is a filth bag. He's an evil person. He encourages the conflict, the hostility, and more importantly, the money making that goes on within the family courts. We need to stand up against these people, and we need to take back control of our lives and our children. Because we're the only ones who know what needs to be done. These people need to be told. Everybody needs to be told. But let me tell you something, it ain't the parents. They're not the ones to blame. No. They're not responsible for this. The government is, and the family courts. I think we should stand over there and make our voices heard to these people. Because these people will make a difference. We can't, we're small, and we'll get stamped on by authority every single time. We know what we need to do.
We need to terrorise the bastards.
My name is Ian Liddy.
That's what we need to do. Fight terrorism with terrorism.
Yeah. Well said, Ian. This is what it's about, people. It's about basically expression, freedom of expression. And as you heard Ian there quite rightfully state, this is a problem. I mean, it starts obviously within the home. It's a breakdown between two persons, communication, and the children, unfortunately, are stuck in the middle. But who's to say that it's not our right to actually debate one another in our homes and not have it labelled as a domestic violence incident? Unfortunately, we are stressed as people. As adults, it's not an easy ride. And when you've got children, there's a lot of demand placed on you. It's not like just two people living in a house and they've got a dog. You've got kids, you've got responsibilities, and it can bring with it sometimes a little bit of a misunderstanding. And if you let it drag on, that's what happens. And then it gets to the point where you split. You end up having these children in limbo. You go to a process where you think, now that you've got to do it yourself as a separate entity, that you are going to see justice prevail. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work in the favour of one parent over the other. But like as Ian said, the problem with the courts is that they use basically what they think is a level playing field. But it's not.
Terrorism is what it is.
Tyranny. We come to tyranny. This is the thing. We are basically looking at people telling... We're looking at... Unfortunately, some people that don't pay road tax or insurance believe they've got the right to the roads. So we get back to that very point. Family and the courts, whether it's actually a process to do with a couple with a family breakdown, to social workers taking a family to a process. I don't know where, obviously, because we're going backwards forwards, I don't know what to cover really from left, right to centre at the moment, because we're all over the show. This is why we're all here, because there's no real direction, is there? There's no real direction. You're in the deep end until you get a grasp of what's happening with this process, or you're hearing from others how it works. You're thrown in the deep end. You don't know what to expect. You're at the mercy of these people, and once 10 minutes goes past, then the couple separated start to realise maybe they've actually gone into something, bitten off more than they could chew. They should have just sorted it out between themselves. But then let's get to family courts. Family courts, so-called family courts, follow law. Well, I'm questioning this because, yeah, we look at civil law. So a person can litigate someone to go to court over something. Well, that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? You believe that you owe money, that person says they don't owe you the money. But this is about children. When you go to a process that they say it's law, but yet it's a civil process, it's not a criminal process. It's not one under what we believe is the House of Lords, where laws are made. It's one that's basically with statutes, acts, legislation like masks. At the moment, you've got people in shops telling you to put a mask on, that it's law. No, it's not law. It's actually being legislated to you as a guidance for what is deemed to be your own personal safety and that of people around you. So that's not law. Law, as I see it, is what those men over there took an oath to stand by. They took an oath under the office of constable to uphold the law. That's law. Inside a criminal court like the Old Bailey, the process is there. That's law. We go to family court. I don't see this being really one of law. I see it being one of the social work go to, let's say, CAFCAS or the Scottish Children's Reporter Administration. They then turn around and say, right, we can't really make the decisions here, let's put it to a court. A court is then being directed by the very people that are in that process to say, when they think that it's not going their way, well, let's get it back to a panel, because then the panel will deal with it. So then the justice will go, okay, let's make a judgment, let's vary maybe the order as conditions stand, and let's go back then to that process. What's the point of having this process? It's not really a judicial process. You might as well just turn around and say this: let the police be judge, jury and executioner and not have a court. You might as well not have a court process, right? Because the way I look at it is like this.
There is no impartiality.
There's no impartiality. There's no
There's no fucking law neither, it's recommendation.
CAFCAS and the judges work for the Ministry of Justice. We are the two fighting parents, and then CAFCAS and the judge taking one side or the other, usually the side of the parent where the child lives. So there's no impartiality. You have one parent against people who stand for the system, and then you're opposing parents. So there is no impartiality. That's where the problem is.
Yeah, there's no objectivity. That's it. And we got to then ask ourselves is what are we being fed? Because I'm being honest with you at the moment. Yeah, I don't get it. I'm a logical person. I use common sense and logic because I believe that's what we all should be able to guide ourselves with each day. And I'm like, well, how can a person be taken through a process and not get an equal right to their child's needs over the other parent?
And the police, it's all about the money. You've got the police, the local authorities, it's all about the money.
Yeah.
You've got all these domestic abuse charities.
Yeah.
Who get ridiculous. A lot of money.
The thing is, at the end of the day,
to drive a wedge between
they want us
separate
to obey
people.
the law, but they can't even be bothered to listen to international law. So who are the
Exactly.
criminals?
Human rights. So if we look at that.
We have Article 6, which is an absolute right. You cannot be broken.
Sorry, we have an... that's all right, I'll keep my name silent. I think they know who I am over there. But at the end of the day, what's the point of having human rights acts if these family court judges are just going to breach them time and again with zero evidence? Now, most of the men who are alienated from their children, we all have something in common. Do you know what that is? That's not us being men. That's a non-molestation order based on zeroed evidence. So the two guys I came up with today, 3 men, 3 with non-molds, 3 placed with no evidence. So then what you're doing is, I'm a father of 4, of which I see 3 of my children. I've raised one myself, but I'm banned from seeing the other one on a CAFCAS officer's lies to say he believes that I will harm my child to get back at the mother, which ain't fair considering I've been slashed and stabbed. I'm the victim of domestic violence. Yeah.
But you're looking after, you're involved with 3 other kids.
Yeah, my other son, I brought him up by myself, school, college, university, he works around the world, got a great job. My other son, he's a British European powerlifting champion. I was involved in his life, I coached him. So if I wasn't involved in his life, he wouldn't have had that success too. I'm not saying I took all the success, because he's got a great mother who I still got on very well with. Which brings me to the attention, if I get on so well with my ex-wife, and we all see the kids harmlessly, why am I a danger to one child with a narcissistic mother who plays a shy, covert, meek, innocent little woman who in 2009 stabbed one of you guys over there and got a conviction for it? But I'm the motherfucker who's banned. Absolutely incredible. We know what it's all about, you nonsense. It's all about child abuse, emotional abuse to line your fucking pockets. And it's about time you criminals over there have justice served on you. No, I'll stay here. But at the end of the day, the family court judge who lets these orders go on, it said no finding of fact, but I've still got a non-mole on me with no finding. He said there is no evidence against me, but I'm still going to put a non-mole on you anyway. But my ex-partner, who's been charged with racial abuse to my partner, threats to my other daughter, beating her up, and social services, their answer is, she's a woman with a nervous disposition. She needs help.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where's the risk?
Exactly. So my daughter is with her. Yeah, it is. So they know I can't handle that. So if I keep going back to court, guess what? I empty my pockets and keep on paying. Now the fathers or even the mothers who don't give a shit about their kids, there's no money to be made. So they're not bothered. But they know we're going to keep going back, fighting and fighting and fighting. Oh, sorry, you can't do it. A simple hearing, it can be done on 1 or 2 hearings. It's turned into fucking hearings of 3 years plus and rinse you of all your savings. And now, you're no good, you're banned because you've got no more money. No more money? Fuck off, you're banned. These CAFCAS people. No, it's not a gender issue. No, it's not. Yes. Now, the reason why they want to place the abuser or the child with the bad parent is easy. They know you and me will fight tooth and nail for our kids and not give in. So, if they ban us and get us out the picture at a later date, when they're with the bad parent, what can they do? Step in and take the child out. We're banned, and now they've got no one to fight for the child. So I'd just like to say a big warm
fuck you, Boris, fuck you, Kafkas, and fuck you, social services. And one other little things I said in my email to Kafkas: eat shit and die, motherfuckers. And that's all I've got to say for today. Thank you.
See, it's coming from your heart, it's passion, and that's what you need to hear more of. This man here is going to actually say something.
You can understand people swearing. These are their children they're talking about, and they're speaking and running, you know, with their emotions.
Marshals can be left and right of you to keep you safe from any
that story.
Nutty cyclists.
And he was right in everything he was saying.
Right over to the gates and stand there for too long, but we will go over near there. But let's try and be respectful. What we've got to say when we go over there, because there is obviously visitors with kids, and we do have kids here as well. We have to be mindful of that. Let's set obviously standard, lead by example. But let's give it a couple of minutes, because this gentleman wants to speak. I'll come back. Some of us want to actually talk. Some of the other organisers, and I want to thank
you for joining me, everyone.
For coming to do everything that we were actually standing for today. So I'm going to put you on this gentleman. I don't know if you want me to introduce you, or rather keep your name.
Chris Elliott.
Chris. I met Chris earlier. Here's Chris, everyone. Hello, guys. I've been telling a lot of people on the pages for a long time, and what I think the problem is, people are paying. We need to stop paying. We need to educate people to stop paying solicitors, stop paying for contact centres, and also the court fees you've got to pay for, but all the other stuff what you're paying, if you cut the head off the snake, it can't bite you no more. And what I keep saying to people is, if you feed a wild animal in your garden, it'll come back every day for more food. The government are the same. We're doing the same thing. Here's another one. Albert Einstein once said, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing every day and expect a different outcome. Yeah. But what are we doing? We're paying every day. We're paying every year. Hundreds of thousands, millions and millions and millions. Until that revenue stops, it will never change. Once the revenue stops, and the social workers start losing jobs and stuff, and all the contact centres are closing, then what they've got to do is reinstate legal aid to everybody to keep this money chain going, because that's exactly what it is. But until we stop paying, it's never going to change. But a lot of people on the groups are not educating this. I mean, to me, it's common sense. If you keep paying, they'll keep taking. Stop paying. It's that simple.
Represent yourself. That's what you do.
I just thought of one, right? Since they like profits so much, should we put a dent in their profits? We have COVID and all this bullshit going on at the moment, which we all know is bullshit anyway. But the economy's on a sink, as we know. So obviously they want to increase their profits and carry on their child abuse. But we can put a bigger dent in their profits than what the family courts can make in one fucking year. What a terrible shame it would be when the economy starts to come back again and all these rich people can't get into London because all the fucking roads are blocked. How much of an economy every single day are you going to lose in finances, in your revenue? In one day you'll lose more in one day what you do through the family courts. I suggest, Boris, you start thinking long and hard, because you know what happens to things like this. I've only got to rewind the clock 20 years of Canary Wharf that went off. If you push people too far, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
That's all finish off then. So who's with me on this one to stop paying? Let's all stop paying. Today, tomorrow, no more solicitors. Do it alone. If you can't do it alone, you've got the PSU, is it? The PSU, Personal Support Unit. They're in most of the courts. They're all and Mackenzie Friends, but the PSU, they don't charge. It's a charity. They're all law graduates. They can attend in court, but they can't give you legal advice. But they can, in their own little room, they'll work with you. They'll tell you how to do the process, what to say, what not to say, and it's all for free. You don't need to keep paying solicitors. Stop paying the solicitors, let's get them all out to work. Once they get all out to work, things have to change, because they damage the economy with all the solicitors, barristers, contact centres. It'd be billions a year. Then they will have to change and either bring back in the legal aid or abolish it for everybody, so it's a level playing field. Not for one, don't matter if it's mum, dad, granddad's, uncles, we're all in it together. You know, it's not gender specific, you know. And what I've noticed at the minute, it started back in the day where a lot of the women were alienating, and now the men are starting to alienate the mums, thinking they'll alienate them. So it's like a free-for-all. So it's like the first person who speaks, they're the one who's believed, and if you say anything, it's just tickle-tackle, and they accuse you of being aggressive.
You know, but for me, we need to stop paying all these groups, all these pages. People need to be educating people to stop paying. Otherwise, we just go round in a circle.
You're paying to have your voice taken away. No solicitor in the fucking land will ever argue the toss and your points, or pull up these individuals on their lies and fabrication. They won't fucking do it. They won't do it, which is why I changed my tactics and I started going direct to the front doors of these individuals who tried to steal my children. And I believe, well, I know that they consider me to be a terrorist of some sort, yeah? Well, I've got fucking news. I will give anyone's personal details of any social care practitioner who have been involved in the forced adoption of any child at any time at no cost, okay? Because when someone's lost their child indefinitely through forced adoption, they've got nothing left. Now, I told Wakefield Council, when they tried stealing my children, they never managed it. We succeeded in the end. When they took me back for an injunction, I said to the local authority, council, and solicitor, you need to consider yourselves fucking lucky, because if you succeed in removing my children, I would have murdered each and every fucking individual involved in my case. Do I know where they are? Yes, I do. Do I know where they sleep at night? Yes, I do. Do I know where their kids sleep?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. Yes, I fucking do.
What I can say is, we're not violent people, we're just loyal, loving parents, passionate parents, getting locked up for knocking on the door because we want to see our kids. Anybody, even Boris up there, and Boris has been through this, he was also alienated from his own 2 kids, and he don't give a fuck because he's got his kids back, and he don't care about nobody else. Now, if he's gone through that, but he backs it, what kind of man is he? And that's the man who runs our country. What kind of man is that?
My child is
horrible.
everything.
Horrible, man.
The only thing we have is our children.
Yeah, so it's horrible.
We should be prepared to put our lives.
But we're not criminals. Any person that says you can't see your kid, you're going to go, it's my kid, I'm going to turn up to see my kid. But I've been to jail 3 times for it. Yeah. You know, because I couldn't keep away from my son, because I brought my son up because his mum couldn't do it. The social services know that, but they're saying no, I can't bring up my son because risk of future harm. What is a risk of future harm? Where did they get that from? Who's got a crystal ball? How do they know what I'm going to be like in the next 2 years or 2 years in the past? Nobody knows the future. I mean, it was only emerged. I was in hospital. I had an heart attack because of this. I nearly died. No, I couldn't have wrote that. I wouldn't have known 6 months ago. I nearly died, but I did. You know, none of us can see into the future, so Boris, you're a bastard. You've been through parental alienation yourself and you back it. You're a horrible man.
Don't forget to mention who actually implemented that, Tony Blair.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get involved with Tony Blair. I mean, he's done.
Tony Blair, thank for a lot.
Well, they just don't. If you look at it, anybody what does this, it's child abuse. You're nonsense. You're taking kids away from loyal parents. And I said to the police and the courts, you're telling me that I'm a risk to my son, but my ex-partner had 20 relationships in 1 year. Now 1 in 10's a paedophile, so that's a risk of 2 potential paedophiles, and they said there's no risk because mum said there's no risk. Really? Strange men she's met on fucking Tinder and that, offline. And you see it all over Facebook, all these mothers, and the social watching, they see what's going on, and they turn a blind eye to it, because they want our kids emotionally wrecked and abused. That's what they want. And then they can control them, then they can repair them their way and control them to do what they want them to do. It's ridiculous, isn't it? And we've all seen the post about EU going on about, you know, the forced adoptions, selling the kids abroad for profit. The EU's got hold of that now. But I couldn't sign the media over here. The EU are talking about it. They've been investigating that for over 6 months. And they're saying, like, from what they've got, 1,000 kids a month in lockdown have been took away and sent abroad. But nobody talks about it. Why? Why does nobody talk about that? I don't get it.
It's a boat, mate.
I just don't get it. It's just one big corruption and all for money, for billions and billions and billions, and that's it.
I just passed a risk assessment.
Everyone, say thank you, Chris, for that, because obviously the information that you're getting there is accurate to a T. And what we would like to try and do is people obviously wanting to move a little bit closer over near Boris is, we're not going to get a T, of course, from him. He's playing golf, no doubt. He's got better things to be doing, hasn't he, than listen to Liz or his party listen. So, the marshals, if the marshals can actually all make themselves available, and we're going to get everyone going in that midsection. Want you to be aware of the fact of, that we have got some nutty cyclists around. So just try and all stay with a social distance as best as you can, but away from the actual traffic. Do you want me to take that side, buddy? Yeah. Right. Danny, Steve.
Can I just say, obviously, that other man also worked with his emotion, but you know, no matter what's done to you, you can't do the same or anything back to children. That's morally wrong. But people are working with their emotions here today and very angry. Can't blame them for being angry. They've had their children ripped out of their loving arms, and they're not being listened to. It's the same thing over and over and over again, isn't it? Whether your child's murdered, abused, whether you're homeless, whether you're a veteran and you're homeless, whether you're suffering from PTSD, the same common denominator, you're ignored. And the pain that these people feel is undescribable. It's undescribable. Trying to find where
just try and actually get try and stay as close away from the road as you can. Right.
I'm not that nice. Fuck off. No, not today. That's what a police force says. Are you not? You're a nutty one.
Ladies who want to speak. Lady at the far end from Poland. If you'd like to come over. If you'd like to come over.
Nutty cyclist. I ain't a nutty cyclist race.
Do you want us to introduce you by name, or would you rather not mention your name? What's your name? Joanna's going to speak to everyone.
I represent problem of EU nationals because EU nationals' children are put in adoption through English courts in breach of EU law with lies put from beginning by social services when they consider us under domestic law British citizens where we are not. And when they don't consider advise our families in Poland, any other members of people from Polish communities, and they just sell our children through English courts. This is what I wanted to add from now a small Polish group who is fighting against this procedure which started since 2002. Thanks.
Thank you. This is not a gender issue. This is about the courts removing children in any situation. Mothers, fathers, EU nationals, it doesn't matter. It's about removing children against the law for profit and abuse and paedophilia, as we all know. And basically the abused children are being either removed into care, forced adoption, or being put with the abusive parent, and the loving, safe parent is being completely cut out. And there is no evidence for this. Evidence is actively blocked in court against the law. Article 6, Article 8 completely breached, and nobody cares until now. And things have got to change, because I will not stop until I get my children home safe. No surrender.
I think a simple one would really be, if you think about it, stop judges from having immunity from prosecution. Yes. So they can actually then be brought to trial and justice for their crimes. And social services too. That's right. But no judge should be immune from prosecution. Now Article 8 obviously is a qualified right, which means it can be interfered with. But what they are supposed to do is make it proportionate so your rights are still not abused. So if there's no evidence to show that you're a harm to your children or any other children, there's no reason to stop you having that relationship. But if there's no evidence, that it's not proportionate to their lives. So they always try and look for a loophole. Now Article 8 really needs to be looked at carefully, and the abusers, which are normally the social workers and the judges. So why can't we bring them to justice? If you can't bring the judges to justice, Why can't the police start looking into the crimes committed by social workers and bring them to the forefront?
Because they don't give a fuck.
No, they don't.
You've got to take
It's their system.
Police threatened my 13-year-old son and to keep him there. They didn't support him. He called them for help, and they threatened him and told him that he was a naughty boy and he needed to keep his mouth shut. And he ended up being taken away along with the other two. So the police do not help and do not support. They're just as abusive as everybody else.
Feel free to chop companies.
Hi, I'm a Polish national who's been in England for 17 years. Last year, social services took away my 3 nephews and a niece. Of course, parents are guilty this time, but there's grandmother who are fighting for the children. They killed my father last month. He went through so much stress that his illness. He just gave up. He just gave up. 2 months ago, he was given few years to live. Last month, after last court case, they gave him only a week to live. So after a week, he died.
God bless him.
Last week, well, basically, it was
Yes, Ali.
on the 3rd of August, we had another court case where social services decided that I'm not capable of taking care of my nephews and niece. That it's better for them if they stay in the foster family, despite me having all the assessments positive. They actually hidden the viability assessment, which was very positive. Until now, I had 5 assessments done, all of them positive, and they still telling me that I'm not capable of taking care of 4 children because I have 1 on my own.
Child abusing scumbag.
So they decided that children will stay in a foster family for now.
With strangers.
Where I'll be given phase, kind of like they will try to put the children within 3 months to my care because apparently my accommodation is too small. And if the council won't give me bigger flat or house within 3 months, the kids will stay in a foster family even longer. And that's England. Thank you very much for 17 years in this country.
Fuck social services. Fuck the family court.
Send their children home!
What I've noticed is, and the rest of you would have noticed it as well, that the police do what these abusers want. And I'll tell you how I know this. I had an heart attack on the 12th of March because of the stress of family court. The ex phoned the police because I rang her, because I thought I was dying. I was on morphine and stuff, and I basically said on a voicemail that I want no more arguments with you. And your fella, he's like the dad to my son, and my son's calling him dad. I'm okay with that because I thought I was dying. The police turned up, and he was trying to threaten me that he was going to arrest me and that. He said, do you know how serious it is? I said, I had a heart attack, I was on morphine, I didn't know where the hell I was or what I was doing. And I said, well, what's going on? Are you going to arrest me? He went, no. He said, your ex has said, come and see you, warn you, but don't arrest you and don't send you to jail. So they're just puppets for these abusers. It don't matter if it's a man or a woman, whoever's doing it, they're just puppets for these abusers, and it needs to stop. You know, they need to fight the criminals, not parents. Parents are not criminals. You should leave us alone, go after real criminals. You know? While the police are spending their attention on us because of non-molestation orders, there's kids being raped out there, there's women being raped, there's people being murdered. The real crimes, exactly. And these kids, when another man or another woman comes in, how do we know if our kids are safe with these other people? These complete strangers. How are they? But for us, there's a risk of future harm as a parent when there's nothing against us. There's no reports of abuse or nothing. How is that possible?
I was thinking the other day about how this cycle can continue and how they keep making their money. Now, because I'm out of one of my daughter's life but not the other 3 children, my 15-year-old daughter, I see no problem, she's doing really well. My nearly 11-year-old, I don't. Now, because I'm not a father figure in her life, and her mother likes to meet one man and another man, she's not got a role model. So my fears are, as my daughter grows up, she may fall into the wrong clutches, looking for that father figure and get abused. Now then, if she gets abused, and it comes to light at social services, and she gets pregnant, the cycle continues, they take that child. So now we've got another little money-making scam going on. So when that child grows up, and and it has no hope, and there's no father figure, or it could be the other way around, of course, mothers. If they're not there, they look for attachment issues, and then you fall in the hands of more abusers, and then social services get wind of it, and that next child is taken away too. So the cycle needs to stop, but it won't stop because of the pound signs. And it is, they say money is the root of all evil, and it really is. It needs to stop, but no one's really going to listen to us until we take other methods forward. And I don't know if what we're doing today will be enough to bring attention to it, but we need to bring attention somehow, legitimately and peacefully, to the forefront of the public. But we need to get together and get more people on these marches. And after seeing that NHS one, I was quite gutted to see. I mean, you can't tell me out of all those NHS workers, there are children who are missing from their parents or alienated parents. It must be out of that. We really do need the support here somehow. And but I do say that he's done a fantastic job just to get us here and bring us all together. But yeah, please just try and get more people here, because they're just going to laugh at us. Yeah, we're not going to be heard. He's going to sit in there, he's playing with lunch, his cup of tea. And yeah, we got no chance, and more parents are going to commit suicide. Yeah. I mean, somewhere
and
this
kids, darling, the kids are as well.
Yeah, the kids.
Yeah. The parents, the 14-year-olds.
Oh, here's a nice one. They drove me to the point on the 26th of May, while I was about to jump off a 150-foot bridge. I got arrested and detained under the Mental Health Act, and 12 hours later, I'm back in handcuffs again because my missus, or ex-missus, said I sent her a letter in the post which was breaching non-moral, which I never did. So even though they know about top myself, they still want me in handcuffs straight away because they care about you so much.
And also to add, when my father was given a week to live, I actually begged social services to bring children to see him. They said because of the COVID, so foster family is shielding. And they didn't allow kids to come. And also from the care plan I received yesterday, I found out that my oldest nephew, who's 12, started threatening that he's going to kill himself. He started to threaten he will harm himself, that he will kill himself, and that's not right. He's only 12.
I have 4 grandchildren I have custody of. One they will not let me have custody of. She's a 7-year-old child. They want to adopt out, take her away from her mother that has been everything asked of her. She has done everything they have said, but still will not let her go home. Social services are in my life 4 days a week, in my house 5 hours a day. I have to be criticised. My children, my grandchildren are constantly saying they wish they were dead. They want to be with their parents. Why is this government destroying these families? Why is this government sending people to suicide? Children getting poisoned, sex exploitation, drug exploitation. You do not give a damn, yet the government themselves can have domestic violence police called to their properties. But do they get social services involved? Do these celebrities get social services involved? No! They get away with it constantly. But a parent that makes one mistake. My daughter was grieving for her father that had just died, and they took her children. You are a diabolical disgrace of a society, this government. You need to change your ways instead of killing our children.
Hello, I've got a mental health condition, but I raised my son for 10 years. I passed a 4-year supervision order in 2008. I was given training by a charity, and I was very fortunate to have a voluntary job at CAB and at PALS. When my second son was born, he had a blood disorder,
similar to what I had as a child. It's a bogus condition. I had my spleen removed. I've got a big scar across here. When I was 6, I had a year's worth of blood tests.
Really sad.
When I was 7, they removed my organ.
All of this.
And they gave me epilepsy. When my mum's sister died in the Lockerbie bomb in 1988, a couple of years later when I failed my first year at uni, I had a breakdown. It was self-harm. Moving into the future, I had a beautiful baby. They took him off him at birth and transfused his blood. When he was 10 years old and we had our second son, they didn't treat his hereditary spherocytosis for 5 weeks. They didn't treat my schizophrenia through the pregnancy. They were being namby-pamby. They gave me an option to safeguard or to take pregnancy and breastfeeding compatible antipsychotics. I chose to safeguard. They made no care plan. And when my baby presented at birth at £3 for 3 ounces, nobody acknowledged his low birth weight and nobody gave him formula milk. I wasn't able to nourish him because the mental health treatment department trust didn't treat me. My baby had 7 years of transfusions as a result of not being treated in utero or at birth, which he should have been, for hereditary spherocytosis. We were eventually sent to a unit in Redbridge away from Barnet. I've been under the haematology department in Barnet for 40 years. I've been under the psychiatric department in Barnet for 27 years. When my son was born, I've been under the psychiatric and haematology department for a long time, and they knew that my baby was predisposed to a blood condition. But the staff decided not to treat him, even though I nicked the notes. 3 consultants were drawn up to treat my baby boy's hereditary spherocytosis. And those consultants were Dr. Gorman, Dr. Mayer and Dr. Singh. My little baby was taken away when the health visitor realised he wasn't putting on any weight and taken to a hospital for his first of many blood transfusions. In 2016, the social services phoned us up and told us that our little boy'd had his spleen removed. This is a practice of organ harvesting. It's really sad. The people at the unit saved my son's life, but they haven't been briefed by the know-it-alls that know it all. Those people that think they know it all caused a little boy to have 7 years of blood transfusions and his organ removed. Thank you very much, Britain. I'm not impressed, and I am a grammar school student. Thank you.
Just to finish off what Steve was saying before about his daughter and stuff, about this attachment thing. Now, from me, when I was younger, I was abused by my own parents really badly, you know, sexually, everything happened to us. And then I got sent to a boarding school, which was more of a ball stuff. And then what I did, one of the staff who was there, who was nice with me, I kind of got attached to him. The abuse carried on, and then it carried on, and it carried on, and it carried on. And that's the trouble. And also as well, it's well documented that 50% of kids without one parent will grow up bad. They will turn out bad. So if you've got 4 million kids without one parent, that's 2 million kids potentially going to grow up wrong. And then there's exactly, and there's nothing any of us can do. Now, on the other side of it is, if you think about it, if there's 2 million kids what's growing up wrong, we haven't got enough doctors to repair the damage to not only the kids but the parents alone. There's 8 trauma doctors within the UK. I know the 8th one. She helped me through coming forward with the police. There's only 8 in the UK, and there's a reason why there's only 8. The ones who's been through abuse, they can't do it. I work in support now, but I do it off my own back and voluntary. And I'm helping people come forward who's been raped and stuff, which I can't really talk about because of different cases going on. But I do that off my own back. But it's took me a long time for me to be able to, I've been talking about it for 10 years, but to get out there and help people, and I'm now working with the police to try and change the laws. So when people ring up in control, the staff are not trained. The staff are not trained, and it's the same with kids who's been abused when they phone the police. They haven't got the training, so they don't know how to speak to these people, you know. And I think it's just all wrong. Hello, pal. I just think it's all wrong, you know, and there's just so many different spectrums where we haven't got enough doctors, we've not got enough people to repair the damage. But what they're doing is, instead of cutting short the damage, they're actually expanding it, so it's getting worse and worse and worse. So Boris over there, what does he want? Does he want a nation which is absolutely fucked up and everybody on drink and drugs and going absolutely chaotic? I mean, do you want to turn the UK into Beirut? Because I tell you what it is, it will go off at some point, because there's so many people, they're so disgruntled. It only takes one to say, let's get armed up to the tooth, and everybody follows. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see people getting arrested for violent things, but what are you supposed to do, you know? At what point does it come where you say enough's enough, you know? And also as well, yeah, but the children are growing up and they're missing the parents, you know, and it's horrible. But the thing with it is, though, there's nothing none of us can do about it, because they say it's okay to do it because the social say it's okay. Well, it's not okay. It's not okay to use our kids for money and to build a society of messed up kids. These kids, what we're potentially working up there in the next 10, 20 years, you know.
On the back of that, right, 75% of addicts in this country are off the back of child abuse, okay, and off the back of trauma. And on top of that, you've got the mental health budget of all of our adolescents. On top of that, you've got CAMHS wait lists for 2 years. Okay, so even if it is just pounds and pence that you give a shit about, right, they corroborate the fucking your books against what you are taking in for doing this, and then what you are paying out on the damage that the addicts are causing this society. 75% of that comes from childhood trauma. Yeah. And then look at the mental health cost for our children. Look at the mental health cost of all the trauma you're causing to all the parents, and correlate that. And I'm telling you now, you're worse off doing what you're doing.
Yeah, just to remember that all these children that have been removed from their parents and abused, they will grow up and they will come for you. They will come for you, they will come for Kafkas, they will come for judges. They're not stupid, they have their own brains. Mine are already asking for names. So they will come for you, and you'll have a whole generation of children destroyed and up in arms against you, and that's the truth.
Costing money for an entire lifetime where they're getting paid up until the age of 18. Balance that out.
What we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, I'm being encouraged to try and get us over. Very soon, sweetheart. I'm going to encourage us to go over with the marshals in a minute safely. If people can take left and right of those bollards, we're going to have the main speakers in the midsection where the cars normally drive through. So if everyone's safe enough to come across there, let's go.
It is heartbreaking listening, watching. There's no apt words to describe it. But what we need is the masses to stop looking the other way and thinking these things don't happen.
Right, what we're going to do is we're going to allow people to come, as I was saying, in the midsection to actually have a say.
Yeah, I know.
We've also got John, who's just over to my immediate left. John's actually doing interviews, so if anyone really feels strongly enough to want to go and do an interview, John is ready and waiting to hear from you. So if everyone can look, my hand's pointing down to John, it's just here. So if you'd like to actually speak to him on a personal level with an interview, we will take the interview. If people just want to
basically, the policy enforcement officers there have been laughing a lot of the time.
Just going to pass you over to Rainbow.
Hi. So my social services abuse started when I was 5. I was removed from my mother, who went into early labour, and she happened to be diabetic. We got given to a neighbour to be looked after for a short time, who couldn't manage us. So she called in social services, thinking these people will help. I was then satanically, ritualistically abused along with my sister. My brother was stolen from school by social services previously, before my birth, but they left my sister with my mum. They took the son to order and left my sister. I came along, I got to 5, they then put us in care because my mum was pregnant. I was satanically, ritualistically abused. A social worker visited, and I asked her if she had come to do things to us. it got discovered what was happening. We then got put into an abusive children's home where more sexual abuse was rife among staff and children. Later on, I then, my mum managed to get us back.
Running an Instagram.
And she fled with us. So she fled to a different jurisdiction and we were safe for a long time. I gave birth at 16 to a child who had required a ileostomy operation. And they said to me, you're 16, you're young, your child's got medical problems. Would you like a social worker to teach you how to clean the wound and dress the wound? Whereupon my mum's like, no, don't interact with them, nothing to do with them. I thought I knew better, so I thought I'd accept this help from social workers, only to discover that they tried to take my son away. Eventually, when my son was 2, I disconnected from Children's Services after they told me that they were glad my second son died of brain damage and spinal bifida. Yeah, and having been told that, well, it's lucky he's died, it's a good thing. After that, I disconnected from them and we fled. Many years later, I was very traumatised from having a disabled child, so I didn't have any more children until much later.
Absolutely,
so 8 years
Max,
ago, I
they do.
gave birth to a beautiful little boy after being told I can't have children. So my beautiful little bundle, within 2 weeks, a social worker turns up at my bed and said, you've got erratic emotions, we're a bit concerned about you. I said, well, this is chemicals, something chemicals going on with me, I can feel it, it's not hormonal, I need to see something. I demanded to see a psychiatrist who discovered I had been accidentally over-medicated approximately 6 times as much of the medication. I was meant to be on 10 milligrams of sertraline as a preventative measure for postnatal depression. Instead of giving me 10 milligrams in the morning, they gave me 30 in the morning and 30 at night. And I don't know if any of you has ever gone to college, university and done partying, but that was what I was experiencing whilst trying to care for a baby. So they stopped the medication immediately, I refused to take any more, but that didn't get rid of social services. They then coerced me to sign Section 22, which means you put your child in a foster care home. Well, I disagreed with that. There was no way was I going to be parted with this beautiful little bundle. So they put me in foster care with this child. Now they said they had concerns about me, you see, because I lived up 2 flights of stairs.
I can see the odd comment now, but it really is the odd comment.
In an address where I had to walk up 4 flights of stairs to take my child to bed. So that ruled that out, and then obviously you have seizures, so you're at risk. Well, my seizures aren't epileptic, they're not electrical, they're chemical, and it's a pain disorder. So I was managed to fight that because all my parents have brought us children up with you know, with the same condition. So then after this, the foster carer decided that she couldn't suppress my rights anymore. I was denied the right to breastfeed. I was given no postnatal care, and my child had tongue tie, so he was not able to latch on. I was unable to provide him with food. Putting us in a second care home, this lady literally snatched the breast pump away from my breast and said, you can't do that, that's too noisy, it's disturbing the whole house. Eventually, after 9 weeks of going through these absolute ridiculous hoops, my father comes to pick us up. That wasn't the end of it. They then pursued me at my father's house. They said that my ex-partner couldn't see my child. He came round and beat me up because that was his method to, like, well, you won't let me see your child. So he beat me up, and then the police turned up. Now, there was some funny goings on between him and the police. There's funny handshakes, there's nothing to see here, walked away. Whereas another police officer was absolutely disgusted in the behaviour of his colleague and changed the lock on my door. Turned out my ex-partner was coming into my flat at night whilst I was asleep, drugging me and raping me and selling me. I was unaware of this until very recently. So I fled this man, stayed with my father for a couple of years. My father died. My siblings decided they wanted to sell the house, so they kicked me out that night, the day of my father's death. Refusing to leave for 2 weeks, they sent my ex-partner round to just enforce me out of the house. So I went into a refuge, and I thought, right, miles away from home, everything's that everything's going to be okay. So in comes social services to tell me that my fire blanket was in the wrong position in the room. Well, the fire blanket was screwed to the wall and it's not my responsibility, so I was able to fight that. They then said my cooker was dirty. I pointed out the pans in the sink that I have just cooked dinner, and if you would like to clean it for me, I would be most grateful. So then social services pushed and they followed me around, they knocked on my door, they wanted to know how I was doing. And initially I thought, well, this social worker seems all right, she's a bit more switched on than the average bear. So I was interacting with her, and I said I probably needed some counselling because I suffered extreme domestic abuse. But they wasn't harassing me too much, but they wouldn't help me with getting my son into school in a different jurisdiction and various other things. So I thought, they're useless, they're still not functional in this jurisdiction. So then I move into a derelict house. I'm told that if I do not take this derelict house, then I will have my child removed because I'm deliberately leaving him homeless. So I took the house, the floor fell through in my son's bedroom, the ceiling fell through in the kitchen, and we managed like that for a year. And then one night, on the 23rd of March, 27th of March, 2018, 3 armed men, one with a sledgehammer, one with a crowbar, and one with a machete, came into my property and threatened me. It was very obvious this was kind of a setup. They wanted to know where my chandeliers were. They even wanted to know where my portal was, which didn't believe I didn't have a portal, so they searched my entire home. And that kind of, as you can imagine, at that point I'm scratching my head thinking, oh my god, I've got fucking psychos here. Well, the next day, social services sent one police officer in the middle of the night to take my child out of his bed. He was then lost for 1 week. Nobody knew where he was, and I was subsequently accused of killing him and burying him in my allotment. This led to what could only be described as an abduction, where I will, well, I won't go into that publicly here, but now, just before this burglary, now this is the interesting thing, just before this burglary, a gentleman came to me and told me that my ex had been selling me and he was a client. Now I thought this gentleman might have a few mental health problems and perhaps he thought I was somebody else. Then he started telling me about things that were happening in my dreams. Whilst I was in my bed dreaming.
Spot on, Max, it is that.
Well, it turned out these weren't dreams. He was coming into my property, he was drugging me, and these weren't dreams. So I learned more about that following the abduction. So then, after this abduction, I was a little bit mental by this point. I'm thinking all these horrific things have happened to me. It turns out my ex was actually a Freemason, and this is how he got away with so much domestic abuse. And I then got deposited at a mental health hospital. They had to discharge me after the 28 days, although I'll be honest, the first 3 days all I could do was scream. All I could do was scream my child's name. I couldn't hold a conversation, or I just couldn't. To exist was impossible. So they denied me my anticonvulsant medication for 2 weeks, so I was having side effects of that. And so then they said, you know, to see, that was it, they drugged me. Just before I was let out of the hospital, they gave me antipsychotics and oil for my ears when I should have had antibiotics. So I'm sat in court, dumb as you like, not knowing a clue what was going on, only to find I've signed a form that means I now only see my son 6 times a year. So it took me a while to process that. And then they started messing about with my contacts. See, that's the next thing. My son came up to me and the most horrific thing. He said, "Mummy, I don't have anyone to talk to no more." So I went to the social worker and I said, who is dealing with my son's well-being? He's telling me he has nobody to talk to. and well, there's more information there that I'm not able to give out at this time because I haven't quite exposed it yet. But it turns out one of his counsellors is a very suspect individual. So that is what happens to us. They chase you from cradle to grave. They pursue you as a child. They come back as an adult and pursue your children, and then they go back to your children and pursue your children. Now, for my mum, when my mum stood here and she spoke up for me as a child, nobody listened to her. They called her mad and they called her a conspiracy theorist. This is a different generation and a different time. We are not conspiracy theorists. We are people that's experienced real life. And it is time that we did something. Now, I'm not suggesting we pick up arms and trail the gates, but we are going to have to stand up and take it through the courts. There is a thing called the common law courts, which many of you know about, but there's also the People's Court run by the people. We need to support those guys more because they're the ones that's supporting us, and they're the ones with the big brass balls that will stand up. They will take these politicians to court and they will hold them to account, and they will not be standing in front of a fellow Freemason brother who's going to scratch their arse and tickle their back and give them their way. They will be stood in front of people like you and me. We're normal people, we live normal lives, we've had normal jobs, and some of us have had spectacular experiences. We are now the next generation. We have to stand up for the children. There is nobody but the mothers who are grieving and the fathers who are grieving. My sister tried to take my son. They said to her, after she filled in a whole document of forms, they turned around and said to her, I'm terribly sorry, but you need to give your council 3 months advance warning that you are having a child come to your property. As they didn't say this, but as they only gave the form to my sister 1 week previous, there was absolutely no way that she qualified. She was devastated. So they deliberately wanted to keep my child in care.
Just went on the back of that with the social services. People are just getting involved with it at the beginning. Don't let the social services in your house. If they turn up just for a normal visit when it's nothing been reported, don't let them in. If you let them in, you're giving them authorisation to write a report up and they can write whatever they want. Unless it's a court order and it's with court, you've got to let them in, otherwise refuse of entry. Because once you do, you're practically signing on death warrant, aren't you? And they'll just do whatever they want to do, make up what they want to make up, just to take your kids away from you. Just a warning for people who's not got to that stage yet, you know. I mean, that didn't happen to me, but I've seen it happen to other people, and it's like, well, you know, I invited them in, somebody said something, so they said, come in? They said, yeah. The worst thing they did, within weeks, the kids are gone. So whatever you can do, unless it's a court order with the social services involved, don't let them in your house. Refuse entry straight away. Anybody else?
Can I?
Anybody else want to?
No. Just to say, I lost my son. My son was stolen and ripped from me. Not in the same way that all your children have been. But I know your pain, and it's an undescribable pain that you can't describe, because it hurts like hell every single day. Every single day is like Groundhog Day. It consumes you and it consumes your thoughts and the injustice of it all. Now I have a letter in my bag to prove how the policy enforcement officers, because that's what they are, the ones that come in and aid taking your children. You know, this isn't just SS, convenient name for them, is it? Social services doing it, or the courts. They have the help of the policy enforcement officers here.
But the courts listen to the social workers.
Yeah, well, no, but they have the help of these. And my point is, I've learnt a lot because of what happened to me, of my son being stolen, but in a different way to yours. And what you said earlier about stop paying them, that is one way. Because we can come here with 10,000 people and they will still ignore us. It doesn't matter how many you come with, because a long time ago, over 100 years ago, they fooled us. And this I learned because of what happened to me. Firstly, the gentleman there is correct in everything he says. But to go along with the court order, if there's a court order to say they can come in your home, check that court order, because if it's just a stamp and not signed by a judge, then it's fraudulent. It's a fraudulent, scamming court order. The same thing, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example because it's important. Council tax. Yeah? The councils hire the courtrooms. Yeah? When they take you to court for council tax. It's the same thing here. Yeah, I've experienced the same thing. Someone said earlier about the Old Bailey. I had to go to the Old Bailey because of what had happened to my son and his two best friends. And in there it was all fraudulent. They didn't even show the evidence. Yeah, so it's everything. Because what they did, they created a legal realm. Going on what that lady said about the common law. You have to know who you are. You have to know how to stand. You have to know what jurisdiction you stand in. You have to know that you overstand all these people. You don't understand them, you overstand them as men and women. Right? And there's maxims of law. One of the maxims of law is a man who does not know his rights doesn't have any. Doesn't have any, because they're not going to tell you what your rights are. Yeah? Because this is a money-making system. It's a scam. It's phony. Legal, it's phony. It's lawful versus legal. And once you start learning all of that and knowing how to stand and know that the policy enforcement officers there have no authority whatsoever over you. SS have no authority over you. Judges have no authority. No one has authority over you. But they will trick you. They will deceive you into thinking that they have authority that they don't have. Right? And that's what this is all about. As I said, we could come with 10,000, 1 million. Believe me, I walked this street, this road for 33 weeks, week after week. Last year with many others, and quite a few of them who are here who did that and still come out. Every single week we walked it. But we walked it to tell the people that was walking up and down what was going on in this country. Because we know the media are our enemy. We know there's no media here today reporting on this. Of course not. Because this is how they get away with their legal scams. And going on the secret handshakers, look what's around their heads. Look at the black and white checkerboards. That's who runs them. Yeah? The same people. Know who you are, know how to stand, because that's what I've had to learn.
We work for them.
Absolutely. And they've got to start knowing, even in the Home Office code, it tells them that we are police by consent. But they will try everything to trick you. You know, if you give them your name and address, that's it, you've contracted. Because this legal world that they've created a long time ago is about contracts and agreements. So you don't do none of it. And like you said, you don't let them in. Because when you let them in once, they can keep coming in. Like Dracula. Yeah? Let them in and they keep coming in and blood sucking you dry. Absolutely. And this is what you've got to do. This is how you've got to educate people. This is how you've got to educate people. Yeah? That they do not have no authority. The judges have no authority. The government has no authority. We created the government. Man and woman created the government. Let's hope that's Boris, eh? Let's hope that's Boris, because I've dealt with Boris.
No one in the back.
No. False flag, there's many of them. I've dealt with Boris. He's the MP to one of the other boys who was stolen, ripped from our loving arms. Wasn't interested. The letter I have in my bag was to the Attorney General from the Minister of Policing, who saw the evidence we had, who sent it to the Attorney General, and we got no response to that, because this is what they do, they ignore you, they don't help you. Another thing they don't want you to know, that if you use a solicitor, they class you as a mute and as a dunce, because you need someone to speak for you.
Keep your fucking voice!
Right, again, Again,
no
a
representation.
man who doesn't know his rights doesn't have it. Yeah, this used to be a great country because we had the common law, because no man had more power over another. Yeah, but they unlawfully stole it. They unlawfully took that authority and stole it from you, just like they're stealing our children. And it's not on. And we're going to let them know, no matter how much pain we feel every single day through what they've done, that they will not destroy us. We will not go on our knees. We will stand up facing them and show them that we don't fear, because we don't.
Don't give a fuck.
And we know the law, we know what you've done, and I'm telling you to all your faces there that you have no authority. I stand over you, I don't stand under you. And that's what you've got to do, not fear. Don't sign any paperwork, because as soon as you do, you're contracting, including verbally, yeah? Just tell them you don't answer any questions.
Yeah, basically you just say you don't consent to give any information. What they will do, they'll try to arrest you and take you in, which sometimes they will do, but you don't have to. You don't have to authorise to give them anything. As everybody knows, you know, you just no comment to everything. You don't have to tell them anything. In the law of the land, for anybody to ask you a question, they have to pay you for you to answer that question. Any shops or places,
do you fancy going to Buckingham Palace?
Answer any
I don't mind if these wish to go down there. Yeah, if these wish to go.
I'm answering your questions. I don't authorise to answer your questions or to give you my details.
Whoever organised it.
There's no reason to, not unless you've done a crime, then you have to. But even then, you can still say no comment. You don't have to say anything, you know. And if they want to just come out now and ask us a question, then I'll say, well, are you going to pay me? Are you going to pay me to answer that question? If not, then go away, because I ain't going to answer it. Because you've got no authority to make me answer you. You know, you're a police officer at the end of the day. You're not nothing special. Anybody else want to talk?
But I think she is at Windsor.
Come on, sorry.
Hi. What happens when the child loses the parent? I tell you, and the government really needs to listen to this. They look up to drug dealers, gang leaders, and engage in drugs, drug taking, knife crime, because they do not have a role model parent to look up to and to be taught in a civilized society how to behave. And the government really needs to wake up to this, because all our kids, the next generation, will end up in a life of crime. We already have a problem with knife crime in this country, drug problem, and children suffering mental health issues. The only way we can address this is to have a parent figure, role model, that the government can support. And what we need is the police and all the enforcement, social services to understand that this problem is becoming a serious issue, where most of the enforcement goes to these children who are parentless,
we'll have to turn around and move the whole camp. That's the thing. We'll have to move the whole camp. At the moment, they're starting to get twitchy. I don't want them actually having reason to start coming in and moving us by hands.
Which will generate income and prosper this British economy.
No, but that's what they get
And
to.
that is the root of our problem. We are not bringing up kids in a way that they succeed in life and pursue career ambitions. Instead, what happens? They go into crime, knife crime, drugs. You look at these council estates, they're full of them. And these boys, these police officers which are laughing, they know that this is what they spend all their time in their job, is dealing with these knife crime, drug dealers, and that's what they do. And we can change that. The government can change that if we invest
well said, in Jennifer.
Understanding that these parents, the court system, need to...
Sorry everyone, I will check your comments out later. Earlier I couldn't see any comments at all, and I've got the odd one or two flickering up. Thank you who's been watching, who's been sharing.
That's it.
And these stories are common. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families, pain and suffering.
Now, you might think it's funny, but nobody's exempt from this. If this happens to you, you won't be laughing then. And people who laugh at this, they know about the nonsense because it's child abuse. And I will tell you, I've suffered every form of child abuse, and being alienated from a parent is the worst form of child abuse any child can go through. So you with a beard now laughing, it's not funny because it's child abuse. And if you think it's funny, well, I just hope that nobody abuses your children.
Hi everyone, so more policy enforcement officers have just turned up over there. Maybe it's confidence in numbers for them.
Is that the police are often used as part of thugs. They didn't come round to keep the peace. They came round to ensure that my ex did not get arrested. But this is not always the case. You have officers that will pay to have, well, an officer paid to change the lock on my door to ensure my safety. You know, these guys, you've got two branches of the police as far as I'm aware. You've got the corrupt, and then you've got the ones that just make the job when we catch bad guys and put bad guys away and make the streets safe for us. But there are a lot of them that they cannot physically stand up for us even if they wanted to. Because if they did, they would lose their job. That's their mortgage. That's their family, the food in their families now. And there are human beings amongst the police, but they are rare as rocking horse shit. And these are the people that we must stand up for, because it blurs the lines. If you deal with so many corrupt police officers, you get to the point where you think they're all a bunch of bastards, build a bonfire, stick them on top. And then you meet one, maybe two really good ones. And God help those good ones if they try to stand up for you. They will lose their jobs, they will be slandered, they will be dragged through the courts for crimes they did not commit. In my case, a police officer was dragged through the courts, accused of harassing me, but I didn't even know he existed. So, how does that work? So, we have to, you the police, you have to differentiate yourself. Do you want to be a man of justice, or do you want to be a paedophile protector? It's your choice.
And I genuinely believe the stuff is...
Laugh all you like, but you know, you may be telling your own joke over there, or you may be one of those that we are talking about. But however,
and at the end of it, they said to me,
shame on you, and I really hope for your sake that your family stays safe and you never, ever need any of us here to stand up for you.
People laugh when they're embarrassed, okay? So we'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you're smirking and smiling because you're embarrassed.
Right, I'm going to move the actual speakers into the mid-section.
Hi everyone, I'm going to turn this off for now. Just need to get a cold drink and that. Thank you for joining me, thank you for sharing me. I wanted to share this with you today to also show you that I am obviously still here, as I told you many times before. I'm not going anywhere at all, and I will prove what they've done, and I'm learning enough so I can pass on that knowledge and that wisdom to you lot, so you can all stand as one. One must learn, you know. Even their grammar, they didn't teach us grammar properly. They took Latin out of the schools before 1960s or 1966, whenever it was, intentionally, so that they could do what they're doing to us and think they can get away with it. Well, they can't, not anymore. And I'll see you all soon, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate it, as always.
Thank you.